You know what's wild? The Toronto Blue Jays just got handed a golden opportunity on a silver platter, and I'm not sure enough people are paying attention to what just went down. Last night, there was a trade that didn't even involve the Jays, but it might have set up their next big move better than anything Ross Atkins could have planned himself. So the Seattle Mariners swooped in and grabbed Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals. Now, a lot of people had been connecting Donovan to Toronto for weeks. I mean, this was a guy who seemed like the perfect fit for what the Jays needed, a versatile lefty bat who could slot in at multiple positions and provide some serious depth. The Cardinals absolutely fleeced Seattle in this deal too, getting a massive haul of prospects and draft picks. But here's the thing, the Jays weren't going to match that offer anyway. They've got some internal flexibility with guys like Nathan Lucas and Joey Loperfido already on the roster, and committing that kind of prospect capital for Donovan probably didn't make sense when you really break it down. But what this trade does is confirm something huge. The Cardinals are officially sellers. This isn't posturing anymore. This isn't the front office testing the waters. They're tearing it down and moving pieces, which means other players on that roster are suddenly very much available. And there's one name in particular that nobody's really talking about right now, but absolutely should be on the Jays' radar. I'm talking about Alec Burleson. Burleson is a 27-year-old lefty hitter who transitioned to first base last year but can still play the outfield. Last season, he put up an .802 OPS with 18 home runs. He hits the ball extremely hard, and here's the kicker. He doesn't strike out much. For a guy with legitimate power, his strikeout rate is actually surprisingly low. Now, he's not going to win any Gold Gloves. His defense is pretty rough, especially in the outfield, and first base isn't exactly a premium defensive position either. But when you look at what the Blue Jays need right now, a left-handed bat who can hit for some power and provide lineup balance, Burleson checks every single box. Think about how this guy would fit into Toronto's current construction. You've got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first base most days, but Vladdy likes to DH sometimes too. Burleson gives you that backup first baseman option. On days when Vlad wants to rest his legs and just hit, you slide Burleson in at first. On days when Vladdy's playing the field, you can plug Burleson into left or right field, depending on the matchup. With Dalton Varsho in center, you've got some defensive flexibility around him. Against right-handed pitching, you could roll out Burleson in left, Joey Loperfido or someone else in right, Vlad at first, and rotate guys through the DH spot. You'd have multiple lefties in the lineup to balance things out against those tough righties. And John Schneider loves being able to move pieces around. Having versatile players who can slot into multiple spots is exactly the kind of roster construction this team thrives on. Burleson's spray chart shows he's a pull hitter, especially to the outfield, which actually plays pretty well at Rogers Center. That short porch in right field could turn some of those hard hit balls into home runs real quick. Now, what would it cost to get him? Obviously, prospects. That's just the reality of trade season. When you look at what the Cardinals just got back for Brendan Donovan, multiple competitive balanced draft picks plus other pieces, you know they're not giving anyone away for free. But here's the thing. Burleson isn't going to cost as much as Donovan did. Donovan's a better defender, more versatile positionally, and has had more consistent production over a longer period. Burleson's defensive limitations and shorter track record mean the price tag should be more manageable. The Jays could probably get this done without giving up one of their top-tier prospects. What's really interesting is that Burleson had a 1.8 WOR last year, which isn't eye-popping, but a lot of that is dragged down by his defense. His bat was legit. He was a silver slugger. He had back-to-back seasons with an OPS over 700, and some of his underlying metrics suggest there's even more to unlock. His barrel percentage and some other advanced stats were actually pretty average or even below average, which is kind of crazy when you consider he still put up a 124 WRC+. Get him working with Dave Popkins and the Jays hitting infrastructure, and you might be looking at a guy who can push an 850 or even 900 OPS. That's not just depth. That's a legitimate middle-of-the-order threat. I genuinely think the Blue Jays need to add one more bat to this roster, and Burleson makes so much sense. He's not flashy, he's not the big name everyone's chasing, but he fills a real need. This lineup is starving for left-handed power, and he provides that. He gives Schneider the flexibility to mix and match against different pitching matchups. He's still relatively young at 27, so he's not some declining veteran, and the cost shouldn't be prohibitive if the Jays are smart about negotiations. The fact that the Cardinals are now confirmed sellers changes everything. Katie Wu from The Athletic and multiple other reporters have confirmed they're open for business on basically everyone. That means the market is there, the opportunity is there, and the Jays need to strike while the iron's hot. They didn't want to pay up for Donovan, and honestly, that's fine. But Burleson represents better value for what they actually need. Let me shift gears for a second because there's another development that's worth talking about. BetMGM just released their American League Rookie of the Year odds, and the Blue Jays have two players in the top 5. Trayvon Savage is sitting at plus 300, making him a pretty heavy favorite. Munetaka Murakami is at plus 450, and so is Kazuma Okamoto. You've also got guys like Tatuski and Kevin Minajia, or however you pronounce that name, in the mix. But the fact that the Jays have two guys with legitimate shots at this award tells you something about the talent infusion this organization just got. Savage is the obvious pick. The guy's been hyped for months, and if he lives up to even half the expectations, he's going to have a monster year. But Okamoto is the one people aren't talking about enough. He's got the exact same Rookie of the Year odds as Murakami, but all the attention has been on Murakami because of the bigger name and the hype coming out of Japan. Okamoto could sneak up on people. If both he and Savage have the seasons they're capable of, this Blue Jays lineup is going to be absolutely stacked. We're talking about potentially one of the best offenses in baseball, not just the American League. These are odds, though, so they're influenced by betting patterns and public perception. But it's still exciting to see the Jays represented like this. It shows the front office has done a solid job restocking the talent pipeline, even while trying to compete now. Before I wrap this up, there's one more thing that came across the wire that's worth mentioning. MLB Trade Rumors put out an article about players who could potentially move to the 60-day injured list once spring training kicks off. Jake Bloss was highlighted in that piece, and it sounds like he might miss some significant time. Bloss had surgery on his ulnar collateral ligament back in May, which is never great when you hear those words, ulnar collateral ligament. That's usually code for serious elbow issues. He was on an optional assignment at the time and stayed in the minors, and heading into 2026, he's still on that optional assignment. The Jays could keep him down in the minors, but they also have the option to call him up and place him on the Major League injured list. Doing that would open up a 40-man roster spot, which could be valuable with all the moves they're trying to make. But it also means giving Bloss Major League pay and service time, which the front office always tries to manage carefully. It's a balancing act between roster flexibility and long-term financial planning. Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro are going to have to figure out the logistics here as they finalize their spring training roster. It'll be interesting to see which way they go because it could have ripple effects on who else they can add or protect on the 40-man. But getting back to the main point, everything really has fallen into place for the Blue Jays with this Cardinals situation. Donovan's off the board, which initially seemed like bad news, but it's actually opened the door for a better fit in Burleson. The price should be more reasonable. The fit is arguably just as good, if not better, for what this specific roster needs, and the Cardinals are motivated sellers. If Ross Atkins doesn't pick up the phone and at least explore this, I'd be shocked. This is the kind of move that doesn't make headlines, but ends up being huge for a team's success over a full season. The Jays still need to add a reliever too. That bullpen needs another arm, but getting that lefty bat has to be priority number one. Burleson checks all the boxes. He's affordable in terms of prospect cost, he's versatile, he provides power from the left side, and he's young enough to be part of this core for a few years if things work out. I'm all in on this move. Let's see if the front office feels the same way.